What were you saying?
You know how it's talking?
The flag of the United States.
And I am ready to entertain a motion on our November Board of Zoning Appeal minutes whenever you all are ready. Okay, roll call, please.
Member Lehman?
Yes.
Member Moody?
Yes.
Chairwoman Gray?
Yes. Our new business this evening is BZA case 2023-02, a monument sign setback variance for road storage. And I'll pass that to staff to review the case with us.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jason Allen, staff planner for the City of Collegedale. This is for BZA 2023-02. So this proposal comes from the road storage located at 5195 Udall Ringel Road. The applicant is proposing to remove a 10-foot setback as required from the City of Collegedale sign ordinance to place a monument sign on the property. The sign ordinance states in Chapter 20, Section 10.2.6, under placement, Part B, no ground-mounted sign shall be located closer than 10 feet of any adjacent property boundary or right-of-way. So here's an aerial view The red outline is where the proposed sign would be placed off Oodle Ringgold Road. Here's an enlarged image of the site plan. It's hard to see, but right to, I guess, to the west, if you're looking at the image, there's a dashed line that shows the right of way. Here's another image of where the sign would be placed. To the left of that red box is a water culvert and some other landscaping and elevation issues. And here's just another photo if you're traveling south off Oodle Ringgold Road. And here's a mock-up of the proposed sign. So there are a couple of factors that impact the location, which are unique to the property. The elevation and landscaping, existing paved driveway, including a water culvert, are areas that are preventing the legal placement of a freestanding monument sign. Determining a sign location where sign footers can be placed in coordination with the required landscaping and avoid existing obstacles is becoming problematic for the applicant. If placed at the 10-foot setback, the sign would be located on top of an existing water culvert and may need to remove some landscaping. Granting the 0-foot setback would place the sign approximately 16 feet from the edge of pavement from the 50-foot right-of-way located at Oodle Ringgold Road. Staff did speak to the city engineer, and the city engineer spoke to TDOT. TDOT just asked that, the sign stay out of the site triangle to not prevent any crashes or any restriction of visions from the drivers. So it was not included in the staff report, but staff would recommend adding a condition that the applicant meet and show that the sign would not interfere with drivers' field of view based off of the site distance standards per TDOT's site triangle standards. And that concludes my staff report or presentation for that. And I believe the applicant is present if you have any questions.
Okay. Do we have questions? Would we like to speak to the applicant, or are we ready for a motion? Okay. Okay, and would the applicant like to come forward and say your name and address? And if you have any other details you'd like to share.
Okay, I'm Aaron Brown. I'm representing Mr. Rhodes and Self Storage. I'm with Valley Signs here in Ooltewah. I don't have any questions. Just wanted you guys to know what we're doing and make sure you're okay with it.
Thank you.
Just because I'm curious, the stake that was in that photo, was that any kind of reference to any signpost, or was that just happened to be there?
Not that I'm aware of. Aaron, do you know?
Yeah, it's not. Okay, I'm just curious. I saw it. Just curious.
It's a good eye.
I move to approve. Second.
Is that with the condition or without?
With the condition.
Okay, roll call, please.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Moody,
Yes.
Chairwoman Gray.
Yes. And that concludes our Board of Zoning Appeals for this evening. Okay, I'm going to call to order our Planning Commission. And our first item of business is a roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Mayor Lloyd, Member Friesen,
Here.
Member Lehman,
Here.
Member Moody,
Here.
Vice Chairman Givens,
Here.
Chairwoman Gray.
Here. And our minutes from our previous meeting, I'm ready to entertain a motion on that as soon as somebody's ready to make that.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yay.
Member Friesen,
Yes.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Moody,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Givens,
Yes.
Chairwoman Gray.
Yes. Okay, our new business for this evening, we're going to start with the annexation of 2023-01, an owner requested annexation, and the plan of services review.
So this is for annexation 2023-01. This was an owner requested annexation. State law requires that staff present the legislative body a plan of service document. So that document basically just shows the services describing that will be extended to the area, including police protection, fire protection, water service, electrical, sanitary, and so forth. It's just really a document showing that we're able to take in that area and provide services. So as I said, the owner has requested an annexation of parcel 132.045.03, which is located currently in Hamilton County and is approximately 25.62 acres. Staff has submitted a plan of services document to the Planning Commission for adoption. If adopted, the annexation can move forward to City Commission as a resolution to be voted on. And here's the subject parcel. It's not addressed currently. Lee Highway is down to the south. So with that, staff recommends the adoption of plan of service document for annexation 2023-01.
And then this evening, are you looking for a vote from us to approve this plan of services?
Correct. So you would adopt a plan of services if you decide so, and then that would go as a resolution to the City Commission.
Okay.
I do want to call out on page 5 of the plan of services, there is a mistake under inspections and code enforcement. There is not currently a building being built, so none of that would apply to this.
Okay, thank you.
And that would be fixed before the next commission.
Okay, is there discussion about the plan of services? Or if I'm ready to entertain a motion on that, if,
So this is the open meeting. If anyone from the public would like to speak.
okay, also on the plan of services. Okay, thank you. Any discussion before I open it to the public? Okay. If anybody who is attending this evening on each item of business on our agenda, staff will present, we will discuss, an applicant will come forward and talk, and then if any members of the public would like to come forward to the microphone, state your name and your address, and then share your comments with us. So if anybody would like to talk about the plan of services for this proposed annexation, you're welcome to come forward at this time.
My name is George Diamantis. I live at 6508 White Oak Valley Circle. And I'm a little bit perplexed on how you would take a piece of property like that and annex it for Collegedale, because that's Hamilton County. How can you do that?
Okay. I'm going to pass that to staff just to address that question.
It's an owner requested annexation that is contiguous with the existing city boundary. So the owner requested that they be annexed into the city.
And if the owner requests that you turn it to a city of Collegedale over there, then if I wanted to, I could do the same thing for you. The same way. Anybody can just ask for the city of Collegedale to take over, and then you can't.
If they are
One
contiguous
person.
to the city boundary and you own the property, you have the right to request annexation. The city then evaluates if we're able to provide services, and if we are, that plan of services is presented for the planning commission and then the city commission to vote on that request.
So only the city commission votes on this.
Correct.
And the neighbors that are around and the impact that this will have down the road have no say so.
They speak at the public meetings and give their input to the two boards that vote on the action. But as they're not the property owners, they don't have a vote on the action.
Well, I can only speak about myself. I have 32 acres on the property, and it is very, very quiet. It is very nice. But all the houses around there have large pieces of land with it. that house a lot of wildlife. And I'm scared that, and concerned heavily, that when you do this, you're going to develop it. I mean, if the people that ask you to annex that piece of property eventually will sell it, which they will, for more money, and when I have nothing against that. I don't blame them for that. But I am concerned that, number one, the road will not be able to handle the traffic on the White Oak side, or Lee Highway for that matter. And then now you're taking a huge part of the wildlife that I've been trying to conserve, and all the people here in the neighborhood have been trying to conserve. So I can only speak for myself and say that I don't have a say-so, but it will affect me greatly. And so that's.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Kim Hales and I live at 6429 White Oak Valley Circle. Family-owned plot of 40 acres. And we saw this posted online and we see the proposed annexation is over on the other side, but within this dotted line, it crosses the street of White Oak Valley Circle and gets part of our property.
So the line was just to highlight the two parcels. The red dotted line is not the actual boundary. It's just the boundary that's within that dotted line.
Okay.
Yeah.
No portion of White Oak Valley Circle is being annexed.
Okay, because I know part of one of our pieces of property actually is across the street. And there's a small cutout, so that it's just basically the property that's on Mrs. Bell's
Correct.
deed.
Yeah.
Okay. And I also have a concern about any kind of right-of-way or road on White Oak Valley Circle with these developments, because our road is very small and we can't, it can't take hundreds of cars on a small road, and that's my concern.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Stacy Blanks, and I'm her sister. I live on the same street at 6325 White Oak Valley Circle. I do have the same concerns about the traffic that is currently on our street. I've been almost hit several times coming out of my own driveway. I've lived there for over 50 years and have continually seen this happen as it gets a little bit crowded on the street. Very, very concerned about the wildlife and just the way that we're hoping that it's not, built up so much that it takes away from the integrity of the land. And just being concerned as a citizen who's lived there on that street most of her entire life. And those are my concerns.
A quick question. Has anybody addressed that with the county?
No, because we just recently found out that the property was sold and was.
No,
being
I'm
developed.
sorry about the road conditions. That you were
Yes,
referencing.
I'm sure multiple people in our street have. I personally haven't recently, but I believe some people in my family have who live beside me have had issues with speeding cars and people.
So the
just
county
not paying
should have
attention.
record of those types of matters.
They
that-
should.
Okay.
Not that I've done it personally, but
Yeah.
it's continuing to get worse.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, the annexation is the first of three different things on the agenda tonight for this specific property. The subsequent zoning, and then the last would be the PUD, which would be the proposed development of the property, which does not access White Oak Valley Circle, just Lee Highway. The agenda item 2 and 3 is the zoning, and then the plan of development. The plan of development that is being proposed and that they would be held to only accesses to Lee Highway. But that will show you what they're proposing to do, the units, the breakup of the units, and the access point. But the PUD, if it is approved, would not allow them to access off of White Oak Valley Circle.
So if that's approved, will it be public notice if they decide to do an entrance on the White Oak Valley Circle side?
So as it's listed now, it's a condition that they take access off of Lee Highway. So yeah, they would have to come back to change any of those conditions and it would be publicly noticed.
Okay, at this point, if anybody has questions or concerns about this, the city services that the city of Collegedale would provide for this subject property, I'll take more of those comments. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and finish this item in the agenda. And then as we talk about the rezoning, if more people want to talk to that issue, we can continue that conversation.
Just a comment. I believe
Yes.
there's no sewer today out at this property. And I understand they're going to be doing grinder pumps with a forced feed. Is that correct?
Correct. It would be a stepped grinder system back down to Edgemond Road. And that would be run in Lee Highway.
And the developer
I think-
team will pay for all of that.
I make a motion that we accept with the exclusions that staff discussed that needed to be struck from blend of services.
Okay, with a motion and a second, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yay.
Member Friesen,
No.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Moody,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Givens,
Yes.
Chairwoman Gray.
Yes. Now, our next two agenda items are related. So the first one is to look at rezoning from urban agriculture and shopping center to make this whole property residential, high-density, single-family homes. So that's one part. That's item number 2 on the agenda. Item number 3 is then, if that zoning is approved, to look at a planned unit development as an overlay on top of that zoning to look at how the developer would like to put the homes on there. So those are 2 separate motions, but they are definitely interconnected. So let's start with zoning 2023-09. Looking at changing the zoning from the urban agriculture and shopping center, which is how it's currently zoned. The request is to make it a residential high-density, single-family R1H zone. And staff, if you could lead us through that.
Yeah, so both the projects are essentially the same. They are in the same PowerPoint, but as you said, they'd have to be voted on 2 separate times. But just for time, I put them together. So this presentation is for zoning case 2023-09 and zoning case 2023-10. So depending on the annexation approval of parcel 132.045.03, the applicant is proposing to rezone 2 existing parcels from urban agriculture. That is parcel 132.045.03, which is currently in Hamilton County. And the parcel that is in Collegedale is Shopping Center Commercial C2. And that is parcel 132.045.02. And both of these parcels will be rezoned to high-density, single-family R1H through a PUD. The rezone, if approved, would allow the development of 111 single-family homes through companion case zoning case 2023-10. Zoning case 2023-10 is a request for a planned unit development or PUD overlay that would be applied tax map parcels 132.045.02 and parcels 132.045.03. So here's a vicinity map. It is hard to see just with the lighting, but it is not the red outline. It is just the 2 parcels that are within that boundary of that outline. Lee Highway is down to the south. The smaller parcel to the south, closest to the southern portion of that red border, that is currently the city of Collegedale, zone commercial. And the northern larger parcel, that is in Hamilton County, is currently zoned as urban agriculture. So just for the zoning in the immediate area, to the north you have urban agriculture, which is in Hamilton County. To the east, you have portions that are still in Hamilton County under urban agriculture or A1. And in the city of Collegedale, you have shopping center commercial. To the south, you have shopping center commercial and mixed use business center. This is directly across the street, Lee Highway in the city of Collegedale. And to the west, you have urban agriculture in Hamilton County and shopping center commercial C2. Surrounding the two properties, to the north, across White Oak, you have single family dwellings. To the east is vacant. To the south, you have commercial businesses. And to the west, there's a single family homes and vacant land. So here's a site plan of the proposed planned unit development that the applicant has submitted. Again, it consists of 111 homes. And I will show in a large view, and I'll leave that there for a couple seconds. So if you're looking at the photo to the west, which is the south entrance, that is coming off Lee Highway. To the north is White Oak Valley Circle, and there would be no access granted to the applicant through there. And it is part of one of the conditions. So here are the minimum requirements for a PUD. The PUD must overlay one of these 6 zones. R1H is the zone that the applicant chose. The units per acre for that zone would be 6 units per acre. So dimension regulations, ones to look at is setbacks. No building should be closer than 10 feet from each other, and no building should be more than 25 feet from, no closer than 25 feet from the PUD boundary. Lot configurations, no lot should be smaller than 50 feet width, and the maximum depth, the shortest depth should be 110. So open space, planning developments require at least 20% to be open space. And then here's the landscaping that they would have to do against the west and the east side of the parcel, since it does abut to commercial zoning. So for the PUD details, if both of the parcels were combined today, they would sit as 32.01 acres, which would host 111 single-family homes. 95 of those lots would be 52 feet by 120 feet, and the remaining 17 would be 62 feet by 120 feet. The density would be 3.5 lots per acre, and access would be from Lee Highway. So this is a photo looking directly north, if you're standing on Lee Highway, of where the parcel and the development would occur. So planning staff has reviewed the submittal proposal and has found that the rezone request and PUD request is generally consistent with the minimum standards required in the City of Collegedale's zoning ordinance. The general area surrounding the proposed PUD consists of single-family homes and some commercial businesses. Development of homes would be compatible to the area. With market changes, development has moved away from commercial, and the need for housing has driven the market in that direction. That whole corridor is zoned commercial, but just with the market changes, we haven't seen any development commercial, and everyone's looking for a house. So development has led to building more houses. Therefore, the rezone from shopping center commercial C2 and urban agriculture A1 to single-family high-density R1H would be compatible with the surrounding area. So here are the list of conditions that will be placed on this zoning case on this PUD. So the gross density shall not exceed 3.5 dwelling units per acre, or 111 dwelling units. Only single-family detached homes shall be allowed to be constructed for this development. A minimum of 20% of the land area should be set aside from the community space that allows retention and detention ponds may be included as open space if they are designed as part of the pedestrian access passive park, with the following amenities as a minimum: pond for retention ponds only, benches, and walking paths. So this is something that the applicant has decided to choose instead of having open space, just open fields. They're going to use their detention ponds to have a small walkway, benches, and a pond for people in the neighborhood to access. Along the right-of-way of Lee Highway, the development, there shall be a single row of evergreen and deciduous 2-inch caliper trees planted at approximately 25 foot on center, except as required to construct primary, secondary, and utility entrances and exits. Ingress and egress shall be through Lee Highway. So this is the condition that would not allow them to go through White Oak Circle. If necessary, Lee Highway shall be improved to accommodate the development as approved by TDOT and city engineers. No building permits or certificates of occupancy shall be issued prior to the city engineer's approval or of the proposed sewer system. and/or the city of Collegedale approves the connection of such system to its sewer system. Sorry, a lot of reading. Curb, gutter, catch basins, streetlights, and sidewalks to be installed per subdivision construction plans approved by the city engineer. The existing trees shall be preserved to the greatest extent possible. Collegedale Board of Commissioners approval of the annexation request of parcel 132.045.03. So if the annexation is not approved, basically both these projects would be null and void if they were approved today. Required sewer main connection pump lift stations serving the developed homes and main line shall be installed at the developer's expense and maintained therefore after by the city in accordance with established practices. A clear maintenance agreement shall be executed with which defines ongoing responsibilities of the developer or his or her successor and the city of Collegedale. Therefore, staff recommends the approval of zoning case 2023-09. So this first approval is only for the zoning. This is not for the HUD.
Okay. Is there discussion before I invite the applicant forward? Okay. And if the applicant would come forward again, say your name and address and additional details that you'd like to share with us.
Good evening. My name is Brad Brackett. I'm with Reagan Smith. We're in Chattanooga. So we've had several meetings with staff and we've worked through all those conditions. So we're in agreement to all those. We appreciate their recommendation for approval and we're here to answer any questions that you guys may have. Jason did a good job going over everything, but Jason, if you could flip to the site plan. I wanted to point out that we do have a 25-foot buffer around the entire project. And there's two streams that come in sort of parallel to the site. They come in to our site at the entrance, but wanted to point out that we're preserving both of those stream corridors and their respective buffers. There's also, Jason talked about a 20% open space requirement, and we're providing 30%. And that's comprised of the 25-foot buffer, the stream buffers, open space, and the amenities that we're doing around the stormwater management areas. So if there's any questions of us, we'd be happy to answer those.
What kind of community feel do you expect here and what type of homes and people?
A nice suburban single-family community that I'd be happy to live in.
What communications have you, excuse me? What was your address?
My address is 1410 Cowart Street, Chattanooga, Tennessee.
What communications have you and the owners have with the surrounding neighbors about this? Could you explain to me how changing the zoning on this improves the welfare of the folks in the neighborhood and in Collegedale?
Well, I would just say that, as Jason said, as the market's changed, your current zoning is C2, and there's really no commercial development being driven by the market. And so there's a need for homes, and
No,
that's where this is going.
To improve Collegedale by changing this.
Well, how's it going to improve your city? I think the first thing that comes to my mind is when improve your tax base, increase it.
Not improve the traffic. Traffic's already terrible when it was it is.
There'll be,
Excuse us.
just a moment. Our procedure here is we're talking here with the developer.
Thank you.
And we will then open up the floor to the public to then come to the microphone and have conversation. And as much as possible, our forum here isn't really everybody yell out, but we'll take all the time we need because I want to hear from everybody. I have another question about the amenities. It looks like, from what I understand, you have walkways around detention and retention ponds. Do you have other things, if you're thinking about families, retirees coming in, what other types of gathering spaces or areas, or what do you have in mind there?
At this time, that's what we have planned, the plan before you.
Okay. So 111 families there.
Correct.
And so playground type stuff would be in their backyards or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
So no pavilions or picnic area or anything like that?
Around the stormwater area, we've done some seating areas.
Madam Chair, just a
Yes,
question.
yes.
Maybe it's much for staff because we saw one of these, oh, thank you, before. I anticipate the reason why the first action, and it was a recommendation from this board, obviously goes to City Commission, was annexation. I anticipate that the reason for that would be the PUD requirement. Is that correct? Because there are some developments that split. And I'm just curious, just for, I think, the benefit of some of the individuals here. The only difference in the back half being developed in Hamilton County compared to Collegedale is the developer would be at a different zoning meeting than this one. And I guess my question is, I understand it as a whole. The front, probably fifth, is commercial in the city, and the access is from the city of Collegedale. The back 4/5 is agricultural, Hamilton County unincorporated. And so I'm just, from a procedural standpoint, I understand the reasons why it should be developed either in the city of Collegedale as a whole or in Hamilton County. And obviously the developer or the property owner would have the same opportunities through rezoning, just would be in a different form. It'd be happening downtown instead of out here. But I guess just the comment relative to, does the PUD requirement cause that, or is it just more consistency of development for the project?
It's both. It's a lot cleaner doing it this way, and the PUDs in the ordinance also state that it must be one continuous PUD. So breaking it up in different jurisdictions, I don't believe would be, or it would be at least against our ordinance.
And go ahead.
No, I appreciate the clarification. I anticipated the PUD is what really drove the requirement both to annex and then it being one project within one jurisdiction. Thank you.
Also, Collegedale provides the nearest sewer service. So that's a huge factor too. Additionally, subdivisions within Collegedale have a slightly different, little more restrictive standard. So the end product is typically a little more refined. But to your point, the developer could, had they gone to a different zoning meeting, requested the back half to be completely developed, accessed off of White Oak Valley, and then done commercial in the front as it stands, or with the PUD in the county.
Well, and if I may, just
Go ahead,
the PUD, and I would agree, the PUD allows additional conditions, and then Collegedale has some standards that may be higher and more above than unincorporated.
Correct.
Thank you.
And I guess one clarifying question, if the back of the property were developed through the county, what density would be allowed on that?
Wasn't it just raised to 6 units per acre?
If it stays A1, it's 2 units per acre. If a request for rezoning was R1, it would be 5 units per acre. I believe this was 3.2.
3.5.
Yeah, as submitted, it's 3.5. But if there wasn't that condition, it'd be 6.
And then Wayne, just a clarification, who, does the city or does the state maintain Lee Highway?
State.
Okay, thanks.
And state will also have to issue the access permit.
Okay. Further discussion before I invite the public forward? Okay. And any members of the public, we invite you forward to say your name and your address and your comments, please.
My name is Alice Tim. I own the 100 acres on the other side of White Oak Valley Circle from this piece of property. And I have several concerns. One is the water. You approved 400 houses across Lee Highway in a flood zone. And now this pond on here is the water table. And many of us are on wells. I only have a well for my water. And the opportunity for disruption of this water table is considerable. Do you go to the EPA about any of this before you do this? It's also a historic area. I think this is where the Cumberland Trail crossed White Oak Valley Circle, crossed White Oak Mountain. So it would be very disruptive in a historical context. And the other thing is wildlife. I moved there in 1977, and there are very few places left that have any kind of wildlife. This year I had 2 bears in residence for 6 weeks. And I called the wildlife officers and they said, there's no place to take them. We don't trap them anymore. We don't help anymore. There's just no place for wildlife to go. And Collegedale has a chance, or this area, Ooltewah also, has a chance to keep something worthwhile. The hawks migrate down White Oak Mountain. It's a flyway, a major flyway for hawks. Now people are cutting the trees. This is a chance to preserve something worthwhile and have a real community, not just one development 6 feet apart from another, destroying the ponds, destroying all the natural areas. And it's in your hands. You know, we moved there and live there because it's beautiful and because wildlife means something. And it's going to be gone forever. If you watched last night, the American buffalo, that's what you're doing. That's what we're all doing to this country.
Thank you. Can staff talk to the water table or wells or EPA?
So the project will be submitted, if it's approved, the engineering plans will be submitted to the city for review, Hamilton County Water Quality for review, and the state of Tennessee for review. It would not be submitted to EPA. I'm trying to think of a scenario that a stormwater pond downhill, whether it be retention or detention, would affect an uphill water table supply. I'm not readily available. One doesn't readily come to mind, but I'm not saying it could not occur. Retention. Those would be the 3 organizations reviewing the plans in accordance with accepted engineering practice.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody else like to share their comments?
So prior to this meeting, my name is Daniel Santor. I live on 9134 Deer and Green Lane, which is off of White Oak Valley Circle. Prior to coming, someone had told me it was going to be a neighborhood of 11 homes. And I'm like, well, I'm thinking, well, that's not that bad. You know, it's not going to affect the traffic. But 111 homes, that's 222 cars, more than likely, and up to 444 cars. Because when, you know, by the time the kids grow, they each got a car, 2 kids, a mom and dad. And, I mean, I'm hoping everyone has done the homework and has figured. So on the slide there, it said, and what was it on F? It said that the highway will be adjusted if needed. Well, at what point? I mean, are they planning that ahead of time, or are they going to develop it and then discover, oh yeah, the traffic's horrendous, which we already know it's, I mean, you had 200 cars coming in and out of Collegedale, I mean, out of Ooltewah. It's going to be crazy. I mean, it's already crazy, but you had 200 more cars and up to 400 cars for a family. I have a family of 4, and right now we got 3 cars. So that's one of my big concerns. And then my other question was, someone already asked, how does it benefit Collegedale? So by it being annexed, it sounds like if the county did it, there'd be fewer homes, but then they're gonna have access to White Oak Valley Circle. So we definitely don't want that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
If the county did it, it would be more homes, would it not? Or
No.
less?
Well, let me say this, and I'll take my county hat off, or try to. Yeah, current zoning by right is 2 per acre. And so a developer could develop that property, at least the county portion, A1, 2 units per acre. I would anticipate a developer for a property like this would probably come through the regional planning agency downtown and request an R1. I mean, most properties where you're going to build homes, at least in this market, require a certain density to even be able to think about producing and I'm not even sure affordable is even a word now relative to homes, but I would anticipate, and I guess the developer could say this, if this was strictly in the county, a developer that was looking at building homes for the market and selling them would probably request from an agricultural zone to an R1 zone. And in that situation, it would move from 2 units per acre to 5 units per acre. Now, granted, with roads, you depending on where you can get with that, you may not get all the way to 5 units per acre, but I would anticipate the same thing whether it stayed Hamilton County. Now, the good thing about zoning and conditional zoning, and I think the staff went through a good process of listing out the conditions. There's to some degree some give and take on rezoning of property. Everyone has the right as a private property owner, in the state of Tennessee to request rezoning. That process is a deliberate, discussion in a forum like this, and then a legislative discussion at city council. But the good thing about conditional zoning is that with a rezoning, say from a commercial and an agricultural to a R1 at 3.5 units per acre, is as part of that, there are some conditions that may help to alleviate some of the concerns. And I think staff mentioned it, access to a state route on Lee Highway in lieu of a connection to a county road, White Oak Valley Circle, is a condition that's added for the benefit. I think most people would say that probably for the benefit at least of the residents on White Oak Valley. Now, granted, it does increase volume a little bit on Lee Highway, but again, it's a state route. The 25-foot buffer, I don't believe an R1 to A1 requires any buffer. So the 25-foot buffer adds a condition that may help relative to the adjacent property owners. As an A1 Hamilton County, it would be a little less dense, but again, it would probably be the same discussion, just in a different venue.
And at this time, would the developer like to come back up to respond to any of the concerns brought up?
I think at this time we're good. I think the engineer answered the question with your.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, can you come to the microphone?
I'm very simplistic. Hi, I'm Debbie Baker. I'm Commissioner of Collegedale, and I live on Robertson Farm, right at the base of White Oak Mountain. The one question I'm going to ask is, we were talking about I know that we need housing. What exactly is the price range of these homes intended to be that you're hitting? What target? Is it going to be for just like middle class, or is it going to be higher up? Like if we're going to be in a 200,000, 300,000 range, are we looking at above that 500,000 to 800,000? What are we looking at?
Okay.
Because that will determine also the quality of people that are going to be in this area. as who could afford it. Also, I understand their concerns because I live at the base of the mountain and I enjoy, and I'm currently having development right at my back door, you know. But also I understand the need for housing. I also understand that the way we were zoned, I would prefer to have a house versus industrial, because that's what we were zoned for before, the area. So that is one thing in my concern, for me to visualize that, because I understand this and what you're saying, but some people, they're looking at, okay, what kind of quality are we looking at? Are we just going to be things thrown up to give instant housing? I would like to see more landscaping, more of a nature and all. And as for the road, that has to do with Hamilton County and the fact that it's a state route, we don't govern that. So I was just interested. Personally, I feel like Collegedale is a better quality of life versus Hamilton County overall when it comes to taking care of their people and taking care of services. But I'm prejudiced with that way. Okay, I've been out here for over 20 years. Can you kind of give me a feedback on that? I appreciate it. Yeah, the price range, what are you looking at? You know, everybody says this is a housing development worth X amount of dollars, whatever.
Square footage,
Yeah.
Yeah, if the developer would come forward and just talk about square footage and price point for the homes, that would be helpful for our discussion.
Is it like 25 feet in between each house?
Okay. Price point would be 400,000 starting.
Okay.
There's two lot sizes. There's 62s, and so that would be a 50-foot wide product, varying depth. Likewise, 52 would be, I'm sorry, 52 would be a 40-foot product, 62 would be a 50-foot product.
Okay. And for those of us who aren't working with these numbers, so 40 and 50-foot product, like what kind of square footage are you talking about?
3,000 square feet.
3,000 square feet. Okay.
Depending on details.
Okay. And some of this stuff may,
I'm not sure at this time about how many stories.
Sure. So a lot of this preliminary work, a lot of preliminary work goes in before a lot of the very detailed design stuff happens.
And I would just point out that's exactly where we're at. We're at the rezoning stage. So I understand the question, but understand where we are in the process.
Okay, thank you.
And they would be limited at 2.5 stories.
Did he say a 3,000 square foot house for $400,000?
Okay.
They would be limited to 2.5.
So the highest that these homes could be are 2.5 stories would be the limit. Okay, gotcha. And so just to recap, the starting value of these homes would be around 400,000, and the size of these homes is about 300 square feet. 3,000, sorry, 3,000 square feet. So, okay, at this point, I want to bring it back to the discussion among the commissioners here. What further questions do we have? What further brainstorming? We have a lot of concerns before us about traffic, changing the character of the area, wildlife, not wanting traffic on White Oak Valley Circle, which I feel like we've been able to answer that question. And again, the item that is before us at this moment is rezoning this property from urban agricultural and shopping center to residential high-density single-family.
My name's Tyler Schmidt, I live at 6339 White Oak Valley Circle, and we are concerned about the traffic too. I mean, Ooltewah is gridlock all the time. If there's a wreck up on White Oak Mountain, you cannot get through Ooltewah as it is. I mean, you put another 111 houses, like you said, you won't get home in the afternoons for an hour. And then they're going to put another 200 some houses down at Edgemont also. We'll never get to the house. I mean, if there's wrecks, we're stuck in Ooltewah for an hour or two probably. with all the traffic. And you're gonna put 111 houses. I mean, I've lived on this road all my life. I mean, we moved up there for the scenery and not look at 111 houses across from us. That's what we moved up there for. I mean, I own 5 acres across there. My dad owns, I don't know, 11, 12 acres right beside me. And we're going to be looking at all these houses all the time now. I mean, y'all say you're going to put trees up, but you're still going to see all that stuff. I mean, I don't know. It's just, I don't know why they got to put so much housing somewhere. I mean, we don't need housing. I mean, y'all got housing everywhere. I mean, so that's it.
Okay. Thank you for sharing your comments.
My name is Erin Santor, and my husband spoke earlier, 9134 Deering Green Lane. I've been out there for 25 years, and everybody to me has had wonderful things to say. The wildlife, it seems like nobody seems to care. I understand that there's a need for housing, except that everywhere I drive, from Hamilton Place here, apartment buildings popping up everywhere. So it's not like 111 is going to make any difference at all in this community. We have 400 homes right across the road that's going to be built where Hidden Hills was. So it's not like there's an absolute need for that. And I keep hearing, oh, we need houses, we need houses. I'm not sure that we do at this moment, but the wildlife is a huge concern. I still don't know the answer to, like, I want to understand, how does TDOT and everybody else involved work together? They just paved the road last year from Ottawa exit out. And they knew that the Hidden Hills opportunity was happening, right? But why are they paving this road when they know that's going to happen and we're going to need to widen it? Because there's no way we can keep it single lane all the way outside of Ottawa. There's no way. I don't know how many of you drive that way from 4 o'clock in the afternoon till 6:30. And then you wait until, like they said, an accident happens on White Oak Mountain. You can't get out. They won't be able to get out of that subdivision when that happens because it's backed up to Cleveland. So the traffic has to be, I feel like that needs to be answered. How is that going to be taken care of? And I know that was a concern with the 400 home development also. So I really feel like we need an answer for that. Again, the wildlife is a huge concern. I understand that, of course, I don't like it, but that's not neither here nor there for, with what's happening. But it just, I guess that's my point, is we don't need 111 more homes at this moment, and we need something to be done to that road. And I know that you don't have any, it's a county road. You said that several times, and we all know that.
It's a state.
I mean, state. But who is it that makes sure that those things happen? One other thing that I noticed on there that I thought was very interesting when you had a list of things, I'm a tree lover. Anytime we get threatened with tornadoes, which like to come right through there, I'm praying for the trees, which we had some taken out right on that land. And I noticed that it said to keep up as many trees as possible. Who makes sure that that happens? Is it the land person that's out there bulldozing everything over that decides which trees stay up? I want to know, who is it that comes out and says these trees don't need to be taken down? And again, I'm going to be calling about the water thing, because I know when Mountain Lake Estates was building the road up there, and that was above us, and those who were below have been affected by that for years, that road. But I also know that the Mother Spring is right around that area, and that spring feeds the other springs. And so I'm going to call, I'm glad someone mentioned that, because I'm going to call myself and find out how that's going to get affected, because I'm on well and only well, and many of us are. So it makes a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hines, could you talk a little bit kind of the chicken and the egg issue between Lee Highway and the state, and how the state looks at roads and how that process works?
And Wayne and I had a conversation about Lee Highway because they're right. I mean, with the interstate being shut down sometimes, it is a backway route. And I had mentioned to city manager that if we could get the state to put that on the future plan for expansion, we need to do that. And I also mentioned it to our Representative Greg Bottle in last week in a meeting, that we need to do that. So he was going to see what we could do, maybe to get that on the list.
So currently Lee Highway is on TDOT's long-range planning process, which is a long-term process. And as I stated earlier, the access permit off of Lee Highway will be submitted to TDOT. It will be reviewed by TDOT and they will make the assessment on the adequacy of Lee Highway to serve this development or any additional development, whether it's commercial or residential along that corridor. Where they are in their long-range planning process in terms of even what their typical is, that's not been shared with me yet. It was just added 2-ish years ago. Do you know any better, Mr. Lehman? About 2 or 3 years ago to their long-range planning process.
Okay.
Did I fully answer the question?
That helps. Thank you.
Who manages what trees are left? Do we?
So once the grading plan is complete, it'll be submitted to the city, and that's when we'll get the limits of disturbance and what's left, what's not. And that will be submitted in addition to the landscaping plan. And that's when staff and the developer will go back and forth on the review process.
Our landscape ordinance does incentivize applicants to save trees by giving them a tree credit. So depending on the caliper and the size of the tree, the developer can point out certain trees that they would like to keep, and that would give them a credit from the landscape that's required in certain areas.
Thank you. And at this point, our options are to call for a vote, to continue to discuss.
Yeah, so tonight's really for recommendation for the city commission. Anything that's voted on tonight is not officially approved. It still needs to go to the city commission.
And when is that city commission meeting? Is that in 2 weeks or is it in a month?
I believe we plan on the 1st of February, the first meeting in February,
Okay.
just to give us time for noticing, because we do have to do notices to the state and items such as that.
You still taking public comment?
You may come forward. Yes.
Ted Mauer, 5520 Barrington Country Circle. I've heard Edgemond Road mentioned a couple times, and if you mention Edgemond Road, my ears perk up because I live just off Edgemond. But could you tell me which side of this parcel is actually adjacent to Collegedale?
Yeah. So if you're looking at the PowerPoint, do you see that red line cutting down the middle?
Right.
Everything to the right of that is Collegedale, which is zoned commercial. And
Okay.
everything to the left, that's all Hamilton County under their.
So the ponds that I see on that diagram are actually already in Collegedale?
I don't believe they're existing.
Yeah, they don't exist, but they're proposed.
Yes.
Um,
But if it's approved, this red line would essentially disappear, and this whole subdivision would be Collegedale.
Okay. So to the left of that red line would be in Hamilton County. To the right of it would still be in Collegedale. Okay. Can someone tell me exactly where this parcel is on Lee Highway relative to, say, Automotive Solutions?
So
Do you know where the house is, the house that has all the flags in front of it?
Yeah.
If you're looking at that house, it's to the left.
Okay.
Big open field.
And it's on the same side as Lee Highway?
Yes, as the flag house.
Also, a Chastain property development was approved some time ago. I thought it would have been started by now, but it isn't. As I attend some of these meetings, it seems that, well, let me back up. Does the Planning Commission have a vision for what they want Collegedale to be and look like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now? It seems, and maybe I'm not seeing everything, the big picture, but do you have that big picture? Or are you approving hodgepodge, random development projects? Do you have a broad vision of the layout for Collegedale, how streets and roads will be constructed and maintained? Where will shopping centers go? Where will people live? Where will schools go? What kind of roads do you want? And how do you want them to be? Do you want them to be big roads, small roads? Do you want a major thoroughfare through Collegedale? What kind of vision and how do you want Collegedale to look like in 20, 30 years?
Thank you.
I have a question. Again, my name is George Diamana, 6508 White Oak Valley Circle. And the question I have for the developer is that how are you going to compare, if you will, this subdivision to what exists already in Collegedale? And is Collegedale going to treat this subdivision the same way you have all the rest of the subdivisions that you have approved? Because it seems to me that you're packing so much in a land, 111 homes, and you're saying you're going to preserve as many trees as possible. But my wife was on the board of directors of the American Horticultural Society of America. And I can tell you that you have some of the strictest landscaping rules in Collegedale. And I know this because I've built a commercial piece of property here. So per square foot, Collegedale costs more money to do the landscaping, if you will, than Chicago, LA, and Atlanta. This is true. So how are you treating that in a commercial zone compared to this? And you're saying, well, you know, if you can save some, you know, trees, we will. Now, you're building on a 1/4 acre lot. How many trees do you think you're going to be able to have on a 1/4 acre lot with 3,000 square feet? Not many. In fact, none. I doubt very seriously you're going to have 10 or 20 trees in that whole subdivision. And you're taking, if you go look and see what it looks like right now, the trees that exist everywhere. And back to the issue that the lady was talking about, the bears. I've had a bear last year and I've had a bear this year. We keep pushing and pushing and pushing, trying to develop for what I would consider 300,000. That's really cheap housing, to be honest. So if that is what we want in our neighborhood, well, then that's great. But I just don't see it. I really just don't see it. And the traffic's going to be a huge, huge issue. You know, you talk about long-term planning for DDOT to expand Lee Highway. Yeah, it's going to be long-term coming. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Jason, can you just speak briefly to what plans the city has in place as far as our visioning and what we're doing planning wise?
Yeah, we do have our 2030 land use plan. It's a pretty thick document that's available online. And it kind of outlines, as the gentleman was saying, where we want to go and what kind of items do we want to approve and such and so forth.
And our zoning is currently under process with a consulting firm to help us.
Correct. Yeah. So after, I mean, especially after COVID-19, a lot of things have changed in the world. So we are doing updates and doing one by one. Right now, we are doing an update to the zoning code just to help assist and get up with the current market and kind of align with our vision moving forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Alice, Tim again. Has anyone thought about making, this is a beautiful piece of property if you haven't been to it. I mean, there were beavers in this pond. It was gorgeous. What would be the possibility of maybe brokering a park? Because there isn't that much land left where you could have an educational park, you could have a sports park, but mostly you could have a beautiful park that everybody could share and find a way to pay the Bell family fair market value for this property that they don't need to suffer. That would be a possibility from some of the city fathers. And you'd actually make more income from quality of life than you would just having more houses jam-packed all together and cutting every tree. I think you have a tremendous opportunity here to make something really special for Collegedale.
Thank you. Okay. One more quick comment, and then from my fellow commissioners, we're going to need to, I'm going to need a motion.
So at what point does TDOT
Say your
decide-
name and address again, sorry, just so we.
Oh, I'm
record.
sorry, Daniel Santor,
Thank you.
9134 Deering Green Lane. So at what point does TDOT make changes to the state highway as far as before or after you agree to rezone it and to give him the permission to put in the subdivision, or is it after the fact or before the fact, or how's that work?
So prior to issuing the access permit, TDOT would look at the traffic demands and decide if they believe they have adequate capacity to meet this project. And then as part of their ongoing traffic demand modeling, this project would be entered into it, which would then be used to prioritize their funding streams to upgrade highways. And that's how they do it across the entire state.
Okay.
So,
and then I don't know if anyone else has mentioned it because I came a few minutes late, but my other concern is you put 111 families in there. And I know this is like, I hate seeing apartments personally, but so the other concern is crime. You got 111 more families. I mean, I don't know, is there 111 families on the circle right now? I would have did more homework if I had known this was, like I said, I thought it was gonna be 11 homes. So I was like, well, we don't need to come in here with numbers. You know, it's 11 homes, it ain't gonna affect the traffic that much. But 111, and plus you had 111 families, and the crime rate, you know, has the potential where, I mean, we've all, I don't know about all of us, but I know I grew up in a neighborhood, and we all know what kids do, whether they're good or bad kids. They all get in trouble at some point doing, you know, trespassing or stealing or whatever. But I don't know if anyone else thought of those things or.
Thank you.
the plan of service does address police coverage for the area. And it goes into the city's long-term staffing plans to police the entirety of the city.
Well, yeah, police is one thing, but that doesn't affect the amount of crime as far as how many homes are in an area. I mean, yeah, the police could be called when someone's stealing or breaking in or committing a crime, but if you don't have 111 homes there, there's going to be 111 fewer people there to commit a crime, if you know what I mean. It's like there could be 111 families that are Christian and never do a crime in their life, but you could have 111 families that are all criminals, you know. It's just, you know, I don't know if this has to do anything with rezoning it. I mean, I have a feeling that's going to happen anyways. But you guys, I mean, you want concerns. Those are some concerns.
The police though, because Collegedale police would cover the neighborhood.
Can you come to the microphone?
I'm Erin Santor, 9134 Deering Green Lane, which is right, barely up the road from this. So Collegedale is going to patrol all that. Great. They've got it made. We're Hamilton County, which I rarely see a sheriff on our street, on our circle. I mean, I've been there 25 years and I'd say maybe 5 times. So what happens when whoever lives there, teens, we have a lot of acreage, all of us, a great place to go trespassing over onto that land. Who covers that? Because Hamilton County isn't around. Is the city police they're not, I don't think, supposed to be over there on that circle. So who takes care of that? Does anybody know?
So we have agreements and state law allows within a couple miles of the city boundary to provide police services for emergency situations. Exactly where that line is, I don't know off the top of my head. But you are correct. The primary focus of City of Collegedale Police would be within the subdivision. And then it would be extenuating circumstances, emergency response, major medical, et cetera, on White Oak Valley before they would respond there.
So as you know, the less police presence just driving down a circle, obviously. When you see that police car every once in a while, if somebody's thinking about doing something, it's there. But when you never, ever have, I honestly don't even think Hamilton County knows that we exist at this point. So that's another big concern then would be the police come to that point, but there's nobody on our circle to make sure that nothing's happening. Because all it takes is one person. All it takes is one rebellious teenager and his friends to cause a whole lot of problems. That's all. It doesn't have to take 110. It can take one. So that's another big, big concern.
And you can also outreach to Hamilton County Sheriff's Department on their non-emergency number and ask them to patrol more frequently.
For more drive-bys.
That's what we do.
That's what they're going to have to do.
We drive by too.
They're going to have to drive by, obviously more than they do because we don't see them.
If you want an explanation.
Yes, thank you. Call them. Thank you.
Okay, fellow commissioners, I'm ready to entertain a motion. If there's further questions, further discussion, I certainly appreciate our developer and our members of the public for helping us see a fuller picture of what we have in front of us.
I'm going to throw a wild card out there. Is there an opportunity with some of the questions that have come up, some of the concerns, to see if the developer could address some of the questions such as the trees, the land development? And I get the density pays the return, right? I get that, but I'm wondering if there's a logical conversation around a deferment that allows the developer to kind of address some of the community's concerns. So I just wanted to throw that out there before.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing because I didn't get all my answers question from him. It kind of felt like to me he wasn't answering, how is this going to improve the city from his perspective. And I've got some real issues with that. I agree. If you make that a motion, I'll.
I don't know. It's just a thought, not to kick the can, but we want to make the right collective decision, right? But we also want to make sure that that we're looking at all the options to address them. We don't have to, either way. What would that mean, staff, if we, they would obviously have to agree to that, not that
Right.
they want to.
The developer would have to request the deferral. And as part of that, the planning commission would have to specifically lay out what questions they would want answered at some time in the future. Whether it's trees greater than 24 inches in diameter, account in a plan to address that. Those sorts of things. They would need a specific list of what they need to work on. The breakup of square footages could be nailed down a little bit more. That came out a little tighter on price point based on square footage, but the other specific questions, I think they would need to know what they are.
This is just a question for staff and sort of curiosity. How far does the city of Collegedale currently go north on Lee Highway? Is it, obviously it goes in front of this development. I didn't know if it goes to the northern White Oak Valley. So it goes all the way to
In the
county
current,
line.
yeah.
At Pine, is that Pine Hill?
It's past it.
Just past it.
Okay.
Past the
So quite a
bar.
bit north. So basically Collegedale has that corridor all the way north to the county line on Lee Highway.
to Fausto's. Fausto's is the first business in Bradley.
Okay. Another question. So a recommendation, and let me lay out in case there's a motion or, and I may, what we are doing and what we're not doing tonight. We're not permitting a project. We're not reviewing engineering plans. We're not making comments related to, are there left turn lanes or improvements on Lee Highway? Again, that's a state permit requirement. So we're not doing that tonight, and we are making a recommendation based on a motion, either a recommendation to deny, a recommendation to approve, or a recommendation to defer if someone so chooses to make a motion. But I look at it relative to land use, and so what we're charged to do is make a decision based on land use. Should this parcel be commercial and agricultural, or should it be homes, single family homes? And as part of that, some of the allowing, whether that's higher density or not, I'm not sure what the density would be in a C2. I know what it is in an A1 unincorporated, but again, as part of that, allowing a rezoning, those conditions that we talked about before, access to Lee Highway, not to White Oak Valley, I'm assuming sidewalks, streetlights. I mean, there are some amenities that cities require as part of their amenities that unincorporated does not. So, and so A to H are the conditions set for this. The most important one being that if the Collegedale Board of Commissioners doesn't approve the annexation request or doesn't approve the rezoning, depending on whether it's a motion to approve or a motion to deny from this body recommendation, or doesn't approve the PUD, it doesn't go anywhere. And so I guess with that would go City Commission, did you say in February? So that would allow some opportunity between tonight and that.
If it went forward from Planning Commission tonight, some of those questions could be answered at the City Commission meeting rather than deferring to make a recommendation. So it would be possible to pass it with conditions, adding conditions of questions that you would like answered for the City Commission, and let them determine if those are appropriate answers or not.
And then from a legislative, I mean, again, they have the same, well, they're the final vote, but they can either approve, deny, or they can even defer.
Correct.
Okay.
You will see this project again if it is approved, because they do need to come back for their subdivision.
Right. They'll come back for a subdivision plat based on,
But
and again,
but by then, everything that we're talking about tonight, if that was approved, that would already been approved.
well, the plat process is after talking about what we're not doing tonight and in deliberating on a rezoning request. A lot of the questions that have been brought up from an access perspective, from a grading perspective, from a landscape perspective, those have happened or will have happened prior to that plat, which is another opportunity for that. Well, based on these conditions, at least, again, me looking at it relative to whether I believe R1's appropriate single-family homes that are appropriate land use for this area, I make a motion to approve with these conditions.
I'll second it.
Okay, further discussion before we call a vote?
Does it, maybe just a clarification, does it have any questions that need to be answered for the planning or for the
City Commission?
for the City Commission?
Well, I would only offer that I believe the developer and his engineers here, he's heard the concerns tonight. He's heard a lot of the concerns relative to to some of the individuals that spoke. I would come to that meeting either having conversations with some of the community or having answers to some of those questions. I think some of the issues relative to the availability of someone to develop the property or cut trees on their property or some of those things, I think are just inevitable to having, private property rights. But I would only offer that I don't have any questions that I need to be answered. The commission would be, so I didn't offer any additional as part of a recommendation.
That sounds good. So then that doesn't change your second. Okay.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Abstain.
Member Friesen,
No.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Moody,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Givens,
Yes.
Chairwoman Gray.
No. Okay, our next item of business is to look at a planned unit development for this property. So that's case zone 2023-10. And do you do another presentation or just explain again what this second step is?
So my question is, that did
Okay.
not pass. Do we need to vote?
Do we have
on
a,
this?
Yeah, that was my point of order
okay,
question.
sorry.
I mean, I have the same question. If the rezoning didn't pass, then I'm not sure how we would even move forward on a PUD.
If the rezoning did not pass, the PUD could only be overlaid certain districts, and C2 is not one of those districts.
No,
But
yeah, I mean,
it
I guess
was,
just a point of order, I believe it was,
It was a 3-2-1 vote, 3-4-2 no, 1 abstention. So that would pass, right? It's not a supermajority.
just, that was just a
Am I
question.
misunderstanding?
Is an abstain not a no, basically a no?
It's a no count.
It's a neutral.
You voted no, no, abstain.
Correct.
Is that not a 3-3?
It's a 3-2-1. That's the way I understand it.
Does, and I'm trying to look on parliamentary procedure, and it may be part of the planning commission protocol, but does a member that abstained get a second chance to either abstain again and or just asking?
I don't remember Robert's rules that well.
I don't believe a 3-2 is a majority if it's a 3-2-1, but that's just I'm just curious.
Agreed. It's not a majority.
Abstentions do not count in the tally of the vote negatively or positively.
But does it have to be a majority of the quorum or of the votes?
That's the next thing I'm gonna, members abstain there. It actually depends on how it was passed originally. Because it may or may not be counted depending on how it was originally passed, and I'm not gonna have that in front of me tonight.
Well, let me only offer, I made the motion, I can rescind it. I mean, we may be at a point now that, and Member Givens made a comment and I believe had some support, and I would only maybe, if there's no clear determination on a motion to approve, whether that passed or not, I would only say that at this point, I would be willing to rescind that. I'm not sure you can do that after a vote if there's a vote to defer, but I only offer that because I don't want to go forward if it's indeed another 3-2-1. Thank you.
If you give me 1 second, I'm gonna see if I can get a hold of the attorney.
Would I be able to turn to ask for some clarification for myself? Because not on this, but prior to, for example, for it to come before the commission, all this other stuff has to be held, like the plaque, the plans as showing what's going to be going in and everything. That's the commissioner's final vote, right?
On the plat, that would come after the PUD.
Okay,
So then if they vote to zone, does it have to come for us in the past? Each section has come to us to look at and to see the question and change, say, okay, we're going to need this, we're not going to,
Correct. The commission would be the final vote. This is simply a recommendation tonight.
for the
I
zone.
mean, they could have all voted recommending no and the commission still approve it.
Okay, 'cause that's what I was wondering, because I understood that they were talking about zoning.
Yes.
And now we've gotten into doing all the plans and everything, which I haven't seen that in front of me.
Yeah, that was the PUD.
Yeah, that, but
So-
then they have to come back with the buildings, the housing, everything, the materials and stuff.
But,
The-
but we don't do that unless zoning.
They wouldn't do the buildings won't come since they're residential. It's prohibited by state law. But the preliminary plat will come back through the planning commission and the city commission after they get to that point, which is further in the design process.
So I'm thinking more than in the design process and the requirements that we have, because we do have tough building codes, and we do require so much, because we believe in saving trees. And so forth. So I was wondering if that, I mean, I understand, I'm just getting clarification for me. Like, I understood this was just for rezone. And then now we've gotten into something more deep.
Right, there are three different ones.
Yeah,
So it's rezoning and the PUD.
Let me only offer this. I only made a motion to recommend rezoning to the city commission. Let me ask the question, Wayne, and maybe this is less of a legal question, because I'm ready to make a motion for we just had the same conversation relative to the rezoning as the PUD, in my opinion. They're the same questions and the same concerns for the PUD approval as for the rezoning. That's why I appreciate staff putting it together. I guess my only question would be, from a process perspective, again, this is a recommending body, and we could have voted 5-0 to approve, or 6-0 to approve, or 6-0 to deny, and it would only be a recommendation. So I guess my question would be, and I guess I just am looking for an affirmative, it can go to city commission as a 3-2-1 without a clear recommendation.
It
Correct.
can, and I did just find it in Robert's rules, majority vote in most instances, it requires a simple majority of the members excluding those who choose to abstain. So you have a.
And my only point, I guess, to the audience is this is not the final authority for rezoning. That's the city commission. So unless I don't get a second, just to send it on with conversation, hopefully between now and city commission, I'll make a motion to approve the PUD, which is the second item. I mean, is that appropriate? I guess I'm looking at staff. relative
So
to that.
the zoning, the recommendation from the planning commission was approved on a 3-2-1 by a simple majority. And so moving on to the final PUD on fixing the layout is what you're making a motion for now, correct? To approve as presented?
Basically, same conversation as we had, but the PUD approves the boundary, the connection to Lee Highway, and the density at 3.5.
And substantially similar lot layouts.
Okay.
So they couldn't come back and
Completely change. So what we saw on the screen, it will be
substantially.
substantially.
Right. They couldn't come back in and do 20-foot wide units stacked in with a really short road.
Or do townhomes in the middle and single family
That's
on
what
the
the PUD's
exterior.
discussing. Yeah.
Okay, just for conversation, I make a motion to approve the PUD.
I just do want to say, as you said, it is the same presentation essentially, and the conditions are all the same as the zoning case. So all the same conditions on the zoning case will then be on the PUD. So I'd recommend approving that with conditions as well.
That is the motion with conditions.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion before we vote? Okay, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Abstain.
Member Friesen,
No.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Moody,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Givens,
Yes.
Chairwoman Gray,
No. Okay, our last item of business this evening is the Appleton Villas Corrective Final Plat, which is case SUB 2023-17.
So subdivision 2023-17. This is a revisionary plat that was submitted simply to capture a sewer line easement and revise a previously recorded plat, which was approved at the staff level in 2021. This plat does not re-subdivide or abandon any additional lots from what was originally approved and recorded at the staff level in 2021. This is just simply the city ordinance requires planning commission to hear any plat, whether final or revisionary, that show newly developed public infrastructure. So here's a vicinity map. This is the Appleton Villas, which is already constructed. Again, usually plats like this, when they're less than 2 lots or something like that, it's all staff level. But since this does have new infrastructure that's already in place, it does still have to come through the planning commission. And here's that plat. Along right above the northern portion of Appleton Pike, you can see the new sewer line running up into Appleton Villas, servicing all the homes. Here's an enlarged view. Following approval, the applicant will dedicate the sewer system to the city of Collegedale through proper proceedings. I believe that is done through a resolution through the city commission. Therefore, staff recommends the approval of subdivision 2023-17.
And the sewer was accepted a couple weeks back. So this is really just a formality to nail down the easements on the accepted sewer.
So I appreciate that. That was my question. So the sewer was constructed, inspected, and approved by the city, and the corrected plat is just delineating that sewer easement along the current alignment of the city sewer.
Yeah, because the staff level plat didn't show that easement, so now it does. So I just can't approve it at the staff level.
Okay, any discussion, any further questions? I'm ready for a motion when somebody's ready.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yay.
Member Friesen,
Yes.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Moody, Vice Chairman Givens,
Yes.
Chairwoman Gray.
Yes. And are there any further staff reports this evening?
We're still chugging along on the zoning rewrite. We are ahead of schedule. We're looking at next month probably to have a townhouse, so members of the public can come speak. Once we have a draft of the ordinance, they'll be able to come in after we post it online to let us know if there's any comments that they would like to add or see any changes on that.
Okay, thank you. And I want to thank you all for coming out this evening and wish you all a happy new year.
Good, neighbor. Good. Still walking that dog or is it alive?
Doing all right?